I yield back. Gentleman from Virginia.
Mr. Speaker, at this time it's my pleasure to yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Woodall.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the chairman of the committee for yielding. Mr. Chairman, the gentleman from Maryland just said after decades the ADA was well understood and the law was easy to comply with. In many cases that may be true, but technology has been advancing so quickly. There are areas where the ADA is not clear today, and we're in need of guidance. Mr. Chairman, in the great state of Georgia, scores of businesses have received demand letters for their websites, that their websites should be considered public accommodations, and demand letters to say those websites do not comply with the ADA when these businesses do not know how to make their websites comply with the ADA. 50 credit unions alone, Mr. Chairman, folks who are in the business of serving our communities have received these demand letters unable to respond. And I'd like if he'd be willing to enter into a colloquy with the gentleman from Texas, Judge Poe, and ask if you're aware, Judge Poe, of the issues created by this emergence of technology and the litigation, the predatory litigation that credit unions and community banks and other small mom and pop businesses are facing.
Does the gentleman yield?
I yield to the gentleman from Texas.
Yes, the gentleman from Georgia is absolutely correct. I am aware of this matter. Also, I'm aware that you have joined Chairman Goodlatte and about 60 members of this chamber last year to urge the Justice Department to finalize a regulation in this area with the intent of providing certainty. Even still, it's not clear that there's a statutory obligation under the ADA for the Department of Justice to act, which is why H.R. 620 doesn't address that issue specifically. Now I yield back to the gentleman.
I thank the gentleman for his guidance. Of course, there was no opportunity for the ADA to anticipate the Internet, to anticipate websites, and so it's unclear whether or not Congress intended for websites to fall inside the public accommodations statute. Because of this ambiguity, though, Judge, all of the small businesses, everyone with a website presence, Mr. Chairman, is unclear about whether or not they're violating the law. They don't even have a framework of guidance so that they could comply with the laws. I know each and every one of these credit unions, community banks, small businesses wants to do. I would ask the gentleman from Texas if he'd be willing to commit to working with me to encourage the Justice Department to move forward with some guidance in this area so that we could provide certainty not just to credit unions, not just to community banks, but to all of these small businesses looking to do their very best to comply with the ADA.
Gentleman yield.
I'm happy to yield, my friend from Texas.
I thank the gentleman. As the gentleman is aware, this legislation makes the ADA better, the right of people to have access. Have 30 seconds.
I'm pleased to yield 30 seconds to the gentleman from Georgia.
Pleased to yield to the gentleman from Texas.
This legislation makes it better for the disabled to have access under the notice and cure requirement, and the Judiciary Committee will continue to work with the Department of Justice and stakeholders on this. In fact, for jurisdictions where courts have held the ADA does apply to websites, we believe protections in H.R. 620 will be applicable as well. I'll yield back to the gentleman.
I thank the gentleman. I thank the chairman of the committee. These are small businesses, Mr. Chairman, that want to do their very best to comply with the ADA, and with guidance, they'll be successful in that effort. I thank the gentleman from Texas. I thank the chairman of the committee, and I yield back.